Welcome. Today we're diving into the world of cost functions in economics, especially as they relate to production and costs. Cost functions are essential tools for businesses and economists alike, helping us understand how costs change as production levels shift. Whether you're a student, a business owner, or just curious about economics, this journey will clarify how costs behave and why it matters. We'll start by defining what a cost function is, then explore its components, and finally see how it's used in real-world decision-making. Let's begin by laying the foundation. What exactly is a cost function? Cost function is a mathematical relationship that shows the total cost of producing different quantities of a good or service. It's a way to model how cost change as output changes. Typically, the cost function is written as CQ, where C stands for total cost and Q represents the quantity produced. This function helps firms predict how much it will cost to produce a certain amount, which is crucial for planning and budgeting. Understanding this relationship is the first step in managing production efficiently and maximizing profits. Cost functions are made up of several key components. The first is fixed costs. These are expenses that don't change regardless of how much you produce, like rent or salaries. The second is variable costs, which do change with production levels, such as raw materials or hourly wages. The sum of fixed and variable costs gives us the total cost. By breaking down costs this way, businesses can better understand which expenses are unavoidable and which can be managed or reduced as production scales up or down. Let's take a closer look at fixed costs. These are the costs that remain constant no matter how much you produce. Think of things like factory rent, insurance, or salaried employees. Even if you produce nothing, these costs still need to be paid. Understanding fixed costs is important because they set a baseline for your total expenses. When production increases, fixed costs are spread over more units, which can lower the average cost per unit. This is a key concept in achieving economies of scale. Variable costs, on the other hand, change directly with the level of production. If you produce more, you'll need more raw materials, more energy, and perhaps more hourly labor. These costs are flexible and can be managed more easily than fixed costs. For example, if demand drops, a business can reduce production and save on variable costs. This flexibility is crucial for businesses trying to stay profitable in changing markets. Total cost of production is simply the sum of fixed and variable costs. Mathematically, it's written as total cost equals fixed cost plus variable cost. This formula is the backbone of cost analysis in economics. By plugging in different production levels, businesses can see how their total costs will change and plan accordingly. This understanding is vital for setting prices, forecasting profits, and making investment decisions. Economics, we often distinguish between short-run and long-run costs. In the short run, at least one input is fixed, like factory size or machinery. In the long run, all inputs can be varied. This distinction matters because it affects how flexible a business can be in adjusting its production and costs. Short-run cost functions help businesses make immediate decisions, while long-run cost functions are used for strategic planning and investment. Average cost is another important concept. It's calculated by dividing total cost by the number of units produced. This tells us on average how much it costs to produce each unit. As production increases, average cost often decreases due to fixed costs being spread over more units. However, if variable costs rise too quickly, average cost can start to increase again. Monitoring average cost helps businesses stay competitive and efficient. Marginal cost is the additional cost of producing one more unit of output. It's a key concept for decision-making because it helps businesses determine the most efficient level of production. If the marginal cost of producing an extra unit is lower than the price it can be sold for, it makes sense to increase production. But if marginal cost exceeds the selling price, producing more could lead to losses. Visualizing cost functions on a graph can make these concepts clearer. Typically, the horizontal axis shows the quantity produced, while the vertical axis shows cost. Fixed costs appear as a horizontal line since they don't change with output. Variable and total costs slope upward as production increases. These graphs help businesses see how costs behave at different production levels and identify the most efficient scale of operation. Economies of scale occur when increasing production leads to lower average costs. This happens because fixed costs are spread over more units, and sometimes because larger operations can negotiate better deals on inputs. Understanding economies of scale is crucial for businesses looking to grow efficiently. It's one reason why large firms often have a cost advantage over smaller competitors. However, producing more isn't always better. Diseconomies of scale happen when increasing production actually raises average costs. This can occur due to management inefficiencies, communication breakdowns, or logistical challenges in very large organizations. Recognizing the point where economies of scale turn into diseconomies is vital for sustainable growth. Cost curves are graphical representations of cost functions. The most common curves are the total cost curve, average cost curve, and marginal cost curve. These curves help visualize how costs change as production increases. For example, the marginal cost curve typically dips before rising, reflecting initial efficiencies and later inefficiencies. Understanding these curves is key for analyzing production strategies. In the short run, cost curves reflect the presence of fixed inputs. The average total cost curve is typically U-shaped, showing that costs decrease at first due to spreading fixed costs, then increase as variable costs rise. The marginal cost curve intersects the average total cost curve at its lowest point, indicating the most efficient level of production in the short run. Long-run cost curves differ because all inputs can be varied. The long-run average cost curve is also typically U-shaped, but it reflects the lowest possible average cost for each output level when the firm can adjust all factors. This curve helps businesses plan for expansion and choose the optimal scale of operation. Cost functions can include both explicit and implicit costs. Explicit costs are direct, out-of-pocket expenses like wages and materials. Implicit costs represent the opportunity cost of using resources in a particular way, such as the income a business owner forgoes by working in their own firm instead of elsewhere. Both types are important for understanding true economic costs. Opportunity cost is a key concept in economics and cost functions. It refers to the value of the next best alternative foregone when making a decision. In production, this might mean choosing to produce one product over another, or using resources in one way instead of another. Including opportunity costs in cost analysis ensures that all relevant costs are considered. Cost functions are powerful tools for business decision-making. By understanding how costs change with production, firms can set prices, plan output levels, and forecast profits. Cost functions also help identify the most efficient scale of operation and guide investment decisions. In competitive markets, this knowledge can be the difference between success and failure. Businesses use cost functions to develop strategies for minimizing costs. This might involve finding the most efficient combination of inputs, negotiating better prices for materials, or investing in technology to automate processes. Cost minimization is essential for staying competitive and maximizing profits, especially in industries with tight margins. Break-even analysis uses cost functions to determine the production level at which total revenue equals total cost. At this point, a business neither makes a profit nor incurs a loss. Knowing the break-even point helps firms set sales targets and make informed decisions about pricing and production. Understanding cost functions is crucial for setting prices. Firms need to cover their costs and earn a profit, so knowing how costs behave at different output levels helps determine the minimum price needed. Cost-based pricing strategies rely on accurate cost functions to ensure sustainability and competitiveness. In highly competitive markets, understanding cost functions can give firms an edge. By minimizing costs and optimizing production, businesses can offer lower prices or higher quality, attracting more customers. Cost efficiency is often the key to survival and growth in competitive industries. For monopolies, cost functions still matter, but pricing power is greater. A monopoly can set prices above marginal cost, but understanding cost functions helps maximize profits and avoid inefficiencies. Even in markets with little competition, cost management remains important for long-term success. In oligopolistic markets, a few firms dominate. Here, cost functions help firms anticipate rivals' moves and plan strategies. Cost leadership can be a powerful competitive weapon, allowing a firm to undercut competitors or invest in innovation. Understanding costs is essential for strategic decision-making in these complex markets. In perfectly competitive markets, firms are price takers. Here, cost functions determine whether a business can survive. Only those with the lowest costs can remain profitable in the long run. Cost efficiency and constant innovation are necessary to stay ahead in such markets. Technological advances can dramatically change cost functions. Automation, improved processes, and new materials can lower variable costs and shift the cost curve downward. Staying updated with technology is crucial for maintaining a cost advantage and adapting to industry changes. The learning curve effect means that as firms gain experience, their costs per unit often decrease. Workers become more efficient, processes are refined, and waste is reduced. This effect is especially important in industries with complex production processes or rapidly changing technology. Outsourcing can change a firm's cost structure by converting fixed costs into variable costs. For example, hiring a third-party logistics provider means paying per shipment instead of maintaining your own fleet. Outsourcing decisions should be based on a careful analysis of cost functions to ensure they lead to real savings. The scale of production has a major impact on cost functions. Small-scale operations may have higher average costs due to limited bargaining power and less efficient use of resources. Large-scale operations can benefit from economies of scale but must also watch for diseconomies as they grow. Government regulations can affect cost functions by imposing additional costs or requiring changes in production processes. Compliance costs, taxes, and environmental standards all play a role. Firms must factor these into their cost analysis to remain compliant and competitive. Sustainability initiatives can influence cost functions. Investing in eco-friendly technology or sustainable materials may increase costs in the short term, but can lead to long-term savings and a stronger brand. Balancing sustainability with cost efficiency is an ongoing challenge for modern businesses. Globalization has expanded markets and supply chains, affecting cost functions worldwide. Firms can source materials and labor from around the globe, often reducing costs. However, global operations also introduce new risks and complexities that must be managed carefully. While cost functions are often discussed in manufacturing, they're just as important in service industries. Here, variable costs might include hourly wages or materials used in providing services, while fixed costs could be rent or equipment. Understanding cost functions helps service firms price their offerings and manage resources effectively. Agriculture has unique cost functions due to factors like weather, seasonality, and input prices. Variable costs can fluctuate widely, making cost prediction challenging. Farmers use cost functions to plan planting, harvesting, and investment decisions, aiming to maximize yields and profits. Technology firms often have high fixed costs, such as research and development, but low variable costs for producing additional units. This cost structure allows for significant economies of scale, making it possible to serve large markets at relatively low average costs. Managing these costs is key to success in tech industries. Manufacturing firms rely heavily on cost functions to optimize production. They analyze fixed and variable costs, monitor efficiency, and adjust processes to minimize waste. Accurate cost functions help manufacturers remain competitive, especially in industries with tight margins and global competition. Labor costs are a major component of many cost functions. Changes in wages, benefits, or labor productivity can significantly impact total and average costs. Firms must balance labor costs with productivity to maintain profitability and competitiveness. Material costs are another key factor in cost functions. Fluctuations in the price or availability of raw materials can cause variable costs to rise or fall. Firms often use contracts or hedging strategies to manage these risks and stabilize their cost functions. Capacity utilization affects cost functions by determining how efficiently resources are used. Operating below capacity can lead to higher average costs, while overextending capacity can cause inefficiencies. Firms aim to match capacity with demand to optimize costs and maintain flexibility. Inventory management plays a role in cost functions by affecting storage costs, spoilage, and cash flow. Holding too much inventory increases costs, while too little can lead to stockouts and lost sales. Effective inventory strategies help balance these costs and keep operations running smoothly. Transportation costs are a significant part of many cost functions, especially for firms with global supply chains. Fuel prices, shipping rates, and logistics efficiency all impact variable costs. Optimizing transportation can lead to substantial savings and improved profitability. Risk management is essential in cost analysis. Unexpected events like supply disruptions, price spikes, or regulatory changes can alter cost functions overnight. Firms use insurance, contracts, and diversification to manage these risks and protect their bottom line. Forecasting future costs is a vital part of business planning. Firms use historical data, market trends, and economic indicators to predict how costs will change. Accurate forecasting helps businesses prepare for challenges and seize opportunities as they arise. Ultimately, the goal of analyzing cost functions is to maximize profit. By understanding how costs behave, firms can set optimal production levels, minimize waste, and make informed investment decisions. Profit maximization is at the heart of every successful business strategy. Wrap up: cost functions are fundamental tools in economics and business. They help us understand how costs change with production, guide pricing and investment decisions, and drive efficiency. Whether you're managing a small business or a large corporation, mastering cost functions is essential for long-term success. Thanks for joining the exploration of cost functions in the context of production and costs. Keep these concepts in mind as you navigate the world of economics and business.